Once upon a time, in the small village of Umago, there lived a man named Mr. Peter. He was well known in the village not just for his wealth, but also for his kindness. He had a beautiful wife, Jessica, and three lovely children, two boys, Eric and Chid, and a small girl named Ava. Jessica loved Mr. Peter deeply, and she always made sure their home was filled with happiness and laughter. She was the kind of wife every man in the village wished for. She is caring for her husband and children with all her heart. But Mr. Peter had a secret that would shatter the peace in his home. He had a girlfriend named Sophia, who lived in a neighboring village. Mr. Peter was deeply crushed with Sophia, and he often sneaked away to see her, leaving Jessica and the children at home, unaware of his betrayers. Sophia was young, beautiful, and charming, and she knew how to make Mr. Peter feel special. But Sophia's beauty masked a dark heart filled with jealousy and greed. One day, Sophia discovered she was pregnant. She was terrified because she knew Mr. Peter wouldn't want the child. He would likely ask her to get rid of the pregnancy. And Sophia couldn't bear the thought of losing her chance to be with Mr. Peter forever. She wanted more than just to be his secret lover. She wanted to be the only woman in his life. And so, an evil plan began to form in her mind. Dear viewers, you must be wondering what Sophia will be thinking, and if Mr. Peter will get married to her or not. Well, keep listening to this story. Before continuing, this is a plea to you, my wonderful viewers, who haven't subscribed to my channel, to please be a part of my growth. I am pleading with you to click on that subscribe button. Please, and if you have subscribed before, thank you so much and continue watching. Sophia decided she would eliminate Jessica and her children so that Mr. Peter would have no choice but to marry her. She knew Mr. Peter's love for his family was strong, so she had to be careful. If she acts too quickly, she might lose everything. Sophia's mind was clouded with dark thoughts, and her heart was filled with envy and bitterness. She couldn't stand the thought of Mr. Peter going home to his wife and children, leaving her alone. One evening, Mr. Peter decided to take Sophia out for dinner in a nearby town. They laughed and talked, but Sophia's mind was far away, plotting her wicked scheme. After dinner, Mr. Peter, thinking of his loving wife and children, decided to buy them a special treat. He ordered a plate of hot spice pepper soup, Jessica's favorite. He thought it would be a nice surprise for them when he got home. Sophia saw this as the perfect opportunity to carry out her plan. As Mr. Peter stepped away to use the restroom, Sophia quickly took out a small bottle of poison she had been carrying in her purse, her hands trembling slightly as she opened the bottle and poured the deadly substance into the pepper soup. She stirred it carefully, making sure it was well mixed, and then sat back, trying to look calm and innocent. When Mr. Peter returned, he thanked the waiter, picking up the plate, and they headed home. When they reached Mr. Peter's house, he kissed Sophia goodbye, promising to see her again soon. He then entered his house, where Jessica and the children were waiting eagerly for him. He presented the pepper soup to them with a smile, telling them he had brought back something special from the city. Jessica and the children were delighted, and they all gathered around the table to enjoy the meal together. Dear viewers, you must be wondering what will happen after his wife and children eat the food. Well, keep listening to this story. Before continuing, this is a plea to you, my wonderful viewers, who haven't subscribed to my channel, to please be a part of my growth. I am pleading with you to click on that subscribe button. Please, and if you have subscribed before, thank you so much and continue watching. The next morning, the house was strangely silent. Mr. Peter awoke to find his wife and children still in bed. But as he drew closer, he noticed something was terribly wrong. Jessica's skin was cold to the touch, and the children were unresponsive. Panic surged through Mr. Peter as he realized they were all dead. His heart shattered into a million pieces as he cried out in anguish, holding their lifeless bodies. The entire village was shocked and saddened by the sudden news of Mr. Peter's family. The once lively and joyful home was now filled with sorrow and despair. Mr. Peter couldn't understand what had happened. He wept bitterly, unable to comprehend how his loving wife and innocent children could be taken from him so suddenly. During the burial, Sophia appeared dressed in black, pretending to mourn with Mr. Peter. She stayed close to him, offering words of comfort and support. She played the role of a caring friend so well that no one suspects her dark intention. After the burial, Mr. Peter was left alone in his house. The memory of his family haunted him day and night. He couldn't eat or sleep. The pain was too much to bear. Seeing Mr. Peter in such a vulnerable state, Sophia seized the opportunity to move into his life more permanently. She announced to him that she was pregnant with his child. Mr. Peter, still in deep grief, was initially shocked, but then felt a flash of hope. The news of a child brought a small light into his dark world. He agreed to marry Sophia, hoping that starting a new family would help him heal from the loss of his wife and children. But things were far from peaceful. As soon as Sophia moved into Mr. Peter's house, strange things began to happen. At night, she would hear strange whispers and feel a cold presence in the room. She dismissed it at first, thinking it was just her imagination, but the occurrence became more frequent and more intense. She would see shadows moving in the corner of her eyes. She would hear soft cries and feel an overwhelming sense of dread. Whenever she was alone, Sophia began to fear that the spirit of Jessica and the children were haunting her. She couldn't sleep, and her health started to decline. Mr. Peter noticed the change in her, but thought it was due to the stress of the pregnancy. He tried to comfort her, but Sophia was growing more distant and worried by the day. One night, as Sophia lay in bed, she felt a cold hand touch her shoulder. She turned quickly, but no one was there. Her heart raced, and she pulled the blanket over her head, trembling in fear. But the presence was still there, whispering her name. It was Jessica's voice, soft but filled with sorrow. Jessica's guilt overwhelmed her, and she knew she couldn't hide from the truth any longer. The next morning, unable to bear the torment any longer, Sophia confessed to Mr. Peter. She told him everything: how she had poisoned the pepper soup, how she had plotted to kill his family so she could have him all to herself. Mr. Peter was shocked. The woman he had once loved now disgusted him. He couldn't believe she was capable of such evil. His grief turned to anger, and without hesitation, he threw her out of his house, banished her from his life forever. Sophia wandered the village a broken woman. No one would marry her, and she lived in regret and shame for the rest of her days. The spirit of Jessica and her children finally found peace, but Mr. Peter was left to live with the pain of their loss, haunted by the memory of his betrayal and the consequences it has brought. The village of Onwagu will never forget the tragic tale of Mr. Peter, a man whose choice led to the destruction of everything he held dearly. Lesson from this story: betraying a loved one not only hurt those directly involved, but can also lead to far-reaching harm and regret. The truth will often come out, and those who commit wrongs must face the emotional toll. Building and maintaining trust is crucial to a healthy and loving relationship. Thank you so much for watching. This is Great African Folktale. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so when I post more interesting stories, you will be the first to get them. I really appreciate you. I do not take your support for granted. See you in my next video. Bye.